Hello everyone, today I wanted to share a new video going over my top 10 favorite Batman video games. This list will greatly differ from yours, so feel free to share your favorite Batman video games down in the comments below. At number 10 is Batman Rise of Sin Tzu. I love this game. It's a classic beat 'em up game, and it's a sequel to Batman Vengeance. It has that new adventure style, and it is multiplayer, which is great when I used to play with my nephews and niece. And they could choose Batgirl, Tim Drake Robin, Dick Grayson Nightwing, or even Batman, have different color schemes. The cheats are fun, and each level, the further you got into the game, more specific to a villain. So like you start off with Scarecrow, then it's like Clayface, Bane, finally to Sin Tzu, and he's an original villain created by Jim Lee. First introduced in this video game, and of course, it's the actor who plays Shang Tsung from the original '95 Mortal Kombat. I love this. This is like a lost episode of Batman the Animated Series and a cool beat-em-up classic game on the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox. Overall, this is one of my favorites. After that, at number 9 is the original Lego Batman. This is just a fun game. Like, I know it didn't have the story, I know it didn't have the dialogue. It's a classic kind of mumbling Lego game like the old Star Wars and Indiana Jones. I just liked the color scheme. It had the Danny Elfman music. It was like going through the greatest hits of the movies with the Burton Schumacher anthology with a mix of the comic books, and it's just so fun. Between vehicle levels, switching between Batman and Robin and their different gadgets, as well as seeing the cutscenes. Overall, this really helped me over in between Dark Knight and Batman Arkham Asylum, and it was a nice way to end the PS2 era of Batman. And number 8 is Batman Vengeance. Batman Vengeance was probably the best Batman game I played growing up, way before Arkham Asylum and Batman Begins. This, again, like Rise of Sin Tzu, is a lost episode of Batman the Animated Series. This one's more serious, and instead of a classic beat-em-up, it's more of like a regular detective game, mix of stealth and action. Gadgets are like in POV form, and then it's third person with the action. You can glide. The story in this is incredible. Seeing the Joker basically orchestrate this whole plan, seeing Harley Quinn, seeing Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, and then a bigger plot that involves the Joker. Each level area is like standalone episodes from the animated series that are bridged together to make Batman Vengeance. And with the animated crew, the look, just everything about this is like a new adventure's tale come to life, and that was great in the age of Batman Beyond. You know, we didn't really get too many new adventures anymore after Batman Beyond, and this was like a rarity. And it was also a Batman game that was good and fun. After that, at number 7 is Batman Begins. Batman Begins was like the end-all be-all Batman game for me before Arkham Asylum. A great movie tie-in that involves the film cast, takes embellishments, expands upon certain things, but what I love is the use of fear and intimidation on criminals. It's a much more grounded approach, but you also have an optic gadget, hacking gadget, different gadgets, smoke pellets, the grapple gun, batarangs. I love the different mechanics, how you can switch costumes after you beat the game. And it's just so cool playing Christian Bale's Batman. I just love this. It's like, the password is little pig, you know? I just love the moments here and how they expand upon the film. And it's just a shame we never got one for Dark Knight. Although the mobile game for Dark Knight Rises was quite fun. For me at number 6 is Batman Arkham Knight. I'm going to get a lot of heat for this. The story, while it left a lot to be desired after the first two, I think, like, gameplay-wise, this is probably the best Batman game, the most fluid, combat-wise. Batmobile levels really let this game down for me. And it's not really like the way it drives, it's the use of stealth and Batmobile, and those are two words that should never go together at all. And I thought Joker was in it a bit too long. It was missing Paul Dini. You know, it missed the writers of the first two. It didn't have the story of even origins. But there was moments that were epic, grand scale. And while it did end things in nice fashion for the Arkham trilogy, it left me wondering why. It left me like kind of empty, where it was like it was an ending and he became something else other than Batman, but it just left me underwhelmed. It didn't have that definitive conclusion the way that Dark Knight Rises did. And it was really annoying to get all the Riddler trophies to see the real ending, to see the Nightfall Protocol. Other than that, though, I love all the DLCs. The DLCs greatly expanded it with the Season Pass. I love it. I love Ra's al Ghul's story. Victor Freeze has the most tragic of them. Mad Hatter is great. It's a lot of fun. And then you have Killer Croc and other levels, too. and that enhances the game a great deal. The twist was predictable with Arkham Knight being Jason Todd, but other than that, it's a lot of fun, and I love switching between the Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton suits playing the game, as well as the Batmobiles. Overall, though, even though it's not my favorite, this is probably still the definitive Batman experience in video games, and I haven't seen it topped yet as far as like gameplay mechanics go. And number 5 for me is Batman Arkham Origins. This game is heavily underrated. Yeah, it did have some glitches when it first came out, but they're fixed now on the PS3, but it was also on Xbox. I love this. This is an awesome game. It was on the Wii U. Roger Craig Smith is great, but you can still tell it's Chris Redfield. It doesn't sound like Kevin Conroy, but Troy Baker is just like a young Mark Hamill. This video game has a phenomenal story. I think it's up there with Arkham Asylum story-wise. You can tell it's a little bit of like an Arkham City ripoff that they use the same like engine. You know, it kind of has that rushed feel the way that like Blood Omen 2 had after Soul Reaver 2. But the cutscenes and story is what makes this for me, and I love playing it on Christmas. Seeing how he's starting out as Batman, doesn't trust GCPD, shows a young Barbara Gordon, shows a young Jim Gordon, how he trusts Jim before he's commissioner. Seeing the villains like Firefly and Black Mask, Joker, Killer Croc, Bane. Deathstroke is like one of the best Batman fights I've seen. Basically kind of derivative of Arkham City with the Ra's al Ghul fight, but I love it. Overall, this game is a blast from start to finish. Has some heartfelt moments, has some epic moments. I love the scene where he's just like, "You may be the only thing, sir. You may be." And he's like, "No, not maybe. I am." When the mugger or the thief stops to think, that is fear. That is what I am. That's why criminals breathe easier when the sun rises. Tonight may not be my end, but it will be theirs. I just love that moment. All the way to the fight, it explains everything of why it is in Arkham Asylum. And it's weird because the games like Batman and Arkham Asylum was so old and they made him younger, but I like this. Extremely underrated video game. Play it on Steam if you get a chance. After that, at number 4 is Batman: The Enemy Within. The Telltale games took it to a whole other level, and this is really a rated M story. I love the embellishments they took. It was a fresh take on Batman. Some elements from the Telltale games made into the Robert Pattinson film. And what I like about this one is that you can play it fresh, or like me, if you played the first one, the decisions you made in the first game affect the story in this video game, and that was so cool. You can have Joker as a vigilante ally before he turns bad, or you could see that he's a psychopath and John Doe's gonna turn bad much earlier. There's some heartfelt, crazy moments. Seeing Amanda Waller's involvement, the Riddler, what happens to Lucius Fox, having his daughter be an ally. Batman's at his lowest here, and he goes through hell, but it's such a rewarding experience. Seeing him go undercover and Harley's gang. Harley Quinn is really more deadly in this version than some previous ones. Seeing Mr. Freeze, Bane, and how like him and Selina basically work together to go after Joker and Harley at the end. Seeing Joker use Bruce Wayne's loved ones against him, knowing his identity as Batman. Oh man, this video game is just amazing, and I really want a part 3, but this is just a great conclusion. After that, at number 3 for me is the first Batman Telltale series. Both of them are neck and neck, but I just love the first one, and that's mainly due to the Lady Arkham twist. This was such a breath of fresh air. You have to get used to the basic gameplay and doing buttons, but the story, Telltale are narrative-driven games, and like Back to the Future, The Wolf Among Us, and Walking Dead, Batman, they honored the comics while also taking it in a brave, bold new direction. And it's great seeing the Penguin, you know, seeing Oswald's backstory and what the Waynes did, seeing a skinnier one. It kind of reminded me of the one on Gotham. But you get that, Harvey Dent, seeing his pitfalls before he eventually turns. And again, whether you save him or not, that affects his appearance. Seeing Selina Kyle, probably my favorite Selina Kyle, one of them, the relationship between them. And then you get that twist with the Lady of Arkham and what the Waynes did at Arkham. And it's just like, this is the first time you saw the Waynes in a very illegitimate light with them working with the mob. It wasn't just a random mugging, it was a hit. Like, there's elements of this that were repeated in the Batman. It just shocked me, the swings that they took, and they landed hard all the way to the end. Such a rewarding Batman experience. After that, at number 2 is Batman Arkham City. I love this game. It's like Escape from New York and Gotham City. Paul Dini crafted a great script, and again, like the Telltale series, it took some bold swings, especially near the end regarding Joker. But I love this. You know, Protocol 10, introducing Hugo Strange, the twist with Ra's al Ghul and Talia, seeing different rogues again. There's so many cool moments in this. It felt more immersive, it felt larger in scope, seeing the Riddler, the start of the Riddler trophies, and then you get into play also as Catwoman. It's just incredible. The DLC content with the challenge maps, the different costumes, you could switch to the comic costumes or even the animated series like I did a lot of times. Overall, this was a sequel done right, and it's basically Batman Arkham City to Batman in video games is what The Dark Knight was to Batman in film, and it's just incredible. And this is probably, like, as far as gameplay mechanics, Knight's probably the most, like, flawless, but as far as overall experience, this might be the best one. And number one for me, though, is Batman Arkham Asylum. Maybe it's a bit nostalgic, but I just love the story. You know, the story element is what drives it more. Even though the gameplay mechanics and combat were perfected in later games, there's something about Batman being trapped in a prison where he put all the inmates at for one night. There's just something so crazy about that was never done before. You had the Arkham Asylum graphic novel, but this took it in a new direction. Seeing Joker spring this trap for Batman, seeing Bane, just Batman having to survive this one night against all the inmates and most of his rogues gallery, just about. Not all of them, but most of them. Seeing the Easter eggs. Something about this game was small in scope, it felt larger. I can't explain it. Like Arkham City was bigger, but something about it felt smaller compared to this one for me personally. And this is the Batman game to finally get it right. It's just the complete Batman experience. Because of this video game, it changed the landscape for not only Batman, but superhero video games in general, where we have now like Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers, and Spider-Man. You know, all of it was changed due to Arkham. And you kind of have different stages, because Spider-Man kind of did that in the 2000s, and then Batman did it, and then Spider-Man kind of like one-upped Batman. And it's just nice seeing all these franchises, when they do well, build upon each other. And yeah, it's just my favorite Batman video game to this day. Even though there might be some other video games that are better, it's just my favorite. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Let me know your favorite Batman video games down in the comments below. Check out these other Batman-related videos for more content. Till next time.